this because
Yeah.
straightforward. That's it. And we'll click record. Hello, Facebook Live. Hello, 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 everybody. Today we have Shell back on. I know you guys love her. I do. And today we're going to talk about cannabis. And I mean, there's a lot of different pockets that we can tap into and talk about. But you know what? I feel like this is something that I want to leave to you, Shell, because you know plants better than me. So you can decide, and you are very in tune. So you have very good intuition in terms of what do people need to know about cannabis?
Well, there's a lot, but I'm not good with the strains. Like people always talk about the strains and stuff, so I'm not going to talk about that today. Because that's like a whole different thing. And I think I'll talk about the stuff that I wish that people would know that are like the basics.
Education part.
Yeah. Like, well, the two different types. So there's the THC cannabis, which is like, the one, the psychotropic one that, gets you high and the one that we've legalized everywhere, all over the place. And then there's the hemp CBD type of cannabis. So it's like the two different things, but they work together. They actually help each other out. And then also the endocannabinoid system that's already in your body, that is a receptor. It has receptors for the constituents of those two plants. So that's why we have the effects that we do and how it helps our body, and we respond the way that we do. But the things that I wish that people knew about the psychotropic cannabis, the normal weed that we're constantly token and stuff from 70s and on. So right now I think that I wish that people wouldn't look at it so recreationally. I wish that people wouldn't have this idea that they can just smoke it as much as they want and just, it's like the new alcohol. Like I think everything out of moderation is bad for you. Especially with these, strains that they have in dispensaries, and the fact that Monsanto has bought up a lot of those strains is now dictating how much they can be distributed. That should be alarming to you. Also, how they're grown is really concerning because they spray it with a bunch of shit. You don't even know what's on them and how that's affecting you when you inhale it or ingest it. And the fact that they are constantly genetically modifying these plants also should be alarming, because as we know, hopefully by this point, GMOs are not good for you. They actually do change your genetic makeup if you ingest them or take them. Like, it's affecting you in some way. You are literally what you eat and put into your body. So if you are intaking genetically modified plant matter of any sort, that's going to have an effect on you, especially these like crazy ass like pot things that they're like coming up with these days. Like, that shit is like crack. Like, every time that someone's like, hey, do you want to toke off of this, dispensary weed that I got? It is absolutely insane. The difference that has compared to the stuff that I grew up with. The swag in the bag, like it's not the same. It's completely different. And the sheer difference in the psychological effects, how it affects your brain, should be alarming to people. It's not affecting you the same way. I think that using it for medicinal reasons, like if you have cancer or you have a digestive issue that causes you a lot of pain and you need that relaxant and you don't want to take, like, I really think that we should stay away from pills like muscle relaxers and stuff. And there is a place for these, but I think that people are purposefully ignoring the effects that it has on your brain because we want it to be legal, like we want it to be accepted and we want it to be legal. So we're kind of denying the effects that it could possibly have on us. We're like, oh, but it's good. It's good. We don't want to focus on that because it's, I think it's great that it's legalized. I think we should release the people that are in prison right now for selling it previously for minor drug charges. You know, you should be releasing those people, but they have yet to be released, which is absolute crap. I don't know how it is in Canada, but here it's relatively new that it's been legalized and they still haven't released everybody.
Well, it's not legal in every state,
No, it's not legal in every
or
state, but even the
province.
states that it is
Yeah.
legalized, like in Massachusetts, there are still people in prison who were put there for marijuana drug charges. So it's just, you need to let those people go if you're gonna start profiting off of the very reason that they were in prison in the first place. But I digress. So like, but the mental effects that this has, it is a psychotropic. You do, it's an hallucinogen.
Yeah.
You do have an effect, and in indigenous cultures that used marijuana, it is a shamanic drug to journey. So it's not supposed to be a recreational thing, and I think that's kind of shown when people use it constantly and they start bugging out, like oh my god, the anxiety comes on, you're like kind of freaking out. It's because I think the purpose of the THC version of the plant is to show you the shadow work that you need to do.
Yeah.
So like, regardless if you want to do it or not, she's going to show you what you need to face, and you're going to face it. And you got to breathe through it, and you got to try to, I mean, geez, I honestly can't smoke it anymore. And I used to be an everyday, person, and I just was picking up on the vibe of the planet too much. And so like a few months ago, I had to just stop, because if you're not connected, it kind of shows you like how disconnected you are if you're not picking up on that when you're ingesting it. And also, I felt like, so it has been proven that if you smoke the THC stuff, that you are less likely to be brainwashed. You are actually like less likely to be able to be manipulated. Same thing with
the truth.
Yeah, same thing
See
with
the truth and you feel the truth.
mushrooms. So if you then think about it, that Monsanto has grabbed these strains and is now manipulating them, and these big dispensaries.
Let me ask you a question. Who's Monsanto?
Monsanto is a giant corporation that has led the way with genetically modified plants. Like, they are the reason why we have GMOs everywhere. And they also are super evil because they control farmers and what they can do on their own property. And they're trying to change the organic plant material that we have on the planet. They want it to be completely genetically modified. And
that way they can own it. Because you can't own anything that's created by nature. You can only own something that is modified.
It's not created by nature. That's why they can own it. It is a completely different plant that is supposed to be to help, productivity of plants. But they've already gone and tested that these genetically modified produce that they have, like all the things that are produced by these plants, has little to no nutritional value. It is just fodder. It has nothing in it, compared to organic, non-GMO, grown outside under the sun plants, and food that comes from it.
Yeah.
If you look at what they had prior to Monsanto and all these like experiments on food, like say back in the 50s, the nutritional value of that food was totally different than what we have now. And even the shit that you see in the grocery store is not, like, it can say organic, non-GMO, but they can label anything as what they want. The only way that you can guarantee that you're getting actual food with nutritional value and everything is if you go to a freaking farm and you get it yourself, like from the farm, and you ask them how they grow it, and you look at their farming techniques and what they're doing, and you make sure that they're not using those seeds and that they're not being controlled by these corporations. That's the only way that you are going to be able to get viable food. So it's just, these people are evil that control these things. Now they're trying to corner the market on these plants, and what they produce, because not only is the pharmaceutical industry losing money from people that they would usually get addicted to opioids and muscle relaxers and all these other medications. So now they're trying to make up for that by buying up all these strains and controlling the market. So when you go to a dispensary, chances are that you are going to be buying something that is heavily like ridden with chemicals, and also spliced to the point where it's like now a Frankenstein plant that makes you like totally obliterated in the brain. Like it's absolutely insane. Like it's not good. It's the equivalent to smoking meth at this point. But like I know a lot of people will get insulted by that because so many people love, pot, and they love that they can recreationally do it now and not have to live in fear that they're going to get arrested. But we have to admit when something is becoming bad. Like we need to understand when it's getting to the point where it's like not okay for us, and it's just as bad as like us smoking tobacco or drinking liquor. You know what I mean? Like we have to take responsibility. So and you're just as much of an addict if you smoke ganja every single day as you are if you drink every single day. You are still dependent on a substance.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. You never want to be dependent on something. And it should be everyone's goal to eventually not have to. I know that people use it intermittently to help get through certain points of their life. And sure, we need crutches here and there, but it should be an end goal at some point to no longer need it, to no longer rely on that substance to get you through, and to build personal, tactics to handle situations with yourself and being connected to your body. Marijuana is a disassociative, so it makes you leave yourself, which is why it's so popular, because then people don't have to deal with things, which is kind of funny because it shows you the shadow work when you bug out. So I think it's like it is a disassociative, but it will choose the days that you need to start doing stuff. She's a very interesting plant. Like it shows how much of a disassociative it is when, samurais in Japan used to smoke it before they would go into battle and kill people. They needed to leave their body. They thought that they wouldn't collect that, like they don't have karma, I don't think, in their belief system, but it's kind of something like that, where if they're not cognitive, if they're not in their body when they're doing these things, it's not on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah.
So it's just very interesting that to me that people are neglecting to realize that this is not healthy, this dependency on it and this recreational use of it. I think it should be used as a spiritual tool, or if you are in a situation where you're very sick, you can use it as well. But I don't like this. Like, I don't like anything recreational. I don't like this, like alcohol. I'm very conservative. I'm like a conservative person when it comes to plants and that kind of stuff, because I think you can't bring out the big guns and use them every single day and then expect to have the same effect when you do need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
Well, yeah.
I think it should be moderately used, but that, yeah, if you are learning about shamanism, you're doing shamanic journeying, you need to disassociate and travel, which is the whole point of shamanism, is to get connected with the spirit world and travel through that void. That is the whole point of a shaman, is to, like, people, it seems like people are very confused about what a shaman is. And a shaman is someone who journeys past the veil and can help people by doing that. Like, that is their purpose. So they use these psychedelics like ayahuasca, marijuana, there's other ones too, hallucinogens in general, to leave their body and travel into that plane of existence. And the further you get, the more you master being a shaman. And you're supposed to be able to come back. That's the problem too, is that some people get lost. They come back. But I think we should really bring it back to that space of using it as a spiritual tool. So if you are going to journey, taking a toke, really making it into a ritual, really giving it because I think people neglect to understand the spirit of the plant itself, which wants to be used in a respectful manner. That's why she punishes us by bugging us out, is because she's not getting the respect that she needs when being used. So we need to start doing that, like in pronto. But then there's the counterpart, which is the CBD laden plant. And the interesting part is that the THC one, the high THC plant and the CBD plant both have the opposite inside of them. If you look at full spectrum extracts of these plants, the THC one has a little bit of CBD and the CBD one has a little bit of THC, and that actually activates the components that allow the effects to happen in your body. You won't get the same effect if you don't have that opposite in there, even a little bit. So like people who take CBD tinctures and that kind of stuff, and they look for the ones without THC, they're going to have less of an effect. They may have some kind of effect, but it's not going to be nearly as strong or as potent as it would if it had that little bit of THC in it. It's like 0.03%. It's like the smallest amount ever. But a lot of people are freaked out about drug testing and stuff like that, and it may come up on it. I've never actually asked somebody who had gotten tested after they used it, but I don't even know if that's enough to come up. You know, like it is the fatty tissue of your body, but like I don't really know. Maybe someone can comment and say that that happened to them or something. I don't know, but the CBD, I love CBD. I think that the hemp plant is such an underrated plant at this point. Like, and I think they're making it too expensive. It grows like a weed, like it is a weed, but the properties of this plant are amazing, and it's not a psychotropic like its counterpart. It does not do anything to you like cognitively. It doesn't make you like bonkers or anything like that, but the healing ability of this plant is out of this world. Not only does it lower inflammation in the body, which is something that so many people have at this point, because of GMOs, because of the processed crap that they're putting into their bodies, because of pharmaceuticals that they've been taking, like the list goes on. But any inflammatory condition that you have can be lessened, or you can have some kind of relief from it by taking CBD. It also helps with nerve pain. Like people who have sporadic nerve pain, or even nerve pain caused by joint inflammation, which is arthritis. They find relief with this, which is very hard to come by, and people will like say, oh, turmeric and stuff. But like I said before, if you have any internal bleeding, it's a blood thinner. So you don't want to be taking turmeric up the woo-ha and like have something bad happen to you. This is an alternative that would be beneficial, which is CBD has very little side effects. It like almost none. Like I actually don't know of any. But I have to say that just in case there's like some anomaly that's like, I have this side effect, you know what I mean? I give it to my little sister who has autism. It has been proven to help children who have autism with their sensory overload. It helps them with their anxiety to go to school or to be in public. It helps chill them out enough so that they can concentrate and they can be present. It helps with, like I said, inflammatory conditions. So I had celiac, or but I rarely have any side effects because I've been taking care of myself. But I take the CBD if I get gluten, because I will have an inflammatory response. I'll have all these things happen. So in order to combat that and lessen the effects of being poisoned, essentially, I will take the CBD, and it does help me get through that period of between like me having that incident happen and healing. Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis. The list goes on of what it can help. And then there's PTSD, which seems to be a very popular thing that people have right now.
And they will continue to have after
But
this.
you can heal PTSD. That's the thing that I want people to understand, is that PTSD isn't forever. Nothing is forever.
Yeah,
You
nothing's
can
permanent.
heal your body from anything. You can heal your mind from anything. And the fact that they make us think that things are permanent just means that they want you to be a cash cow. So don't be a cash cow. Understand that you have the end goal of healing. When that might be, we don't know. But the end goal, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you should work to it. But CBD has also been proven in studies to help people with PTSD. They tested it with veterans. I send it to my father, and it actually helps him get a restful night's sleep. He gets night terrors. So like he has a lot of, like, I see him like having like flashbacks sometimes. It helps him with all of that. He can actually sleep through the night, which is something that he can't usually do. But they have proven that in the brain, the neural pathways, which when you have traumatic episodes and stuff happen, they get formed in a certain direction where you have these like relapses and these flashbacks and all that kind of stuff. When you take CBD, it actually, much like doing microdoses of mushrooms, it redirects the neural pathways so that you actually heal from, the trauma. You don't just put a Band-Aid on it. It's not just like, oh, I'm just forgetting about it, which is why a lot of those people turn to heroin or alcohol or any of that, is to try and cope. You're not just coping, you're actually healing and moving forward. So it's really miraculous. Like I can't get over all the things about CBD that I love it. You can use it topically. You can use it internally. It's safe for pets. I mean, it, like, the list goes on. And I think that it's not as recognized as, the psychotropic,
The THC.
toket stuff.
Does THC have medical benefits or benefits?
It does, but I think, to me personally, I mean, other people will argue that it does and it has more, but I think I would rather give someone CBD over marijuana. I mean, it does have some benefits, but the psychotropic stuff that happens with it, and people will argue that, oh, it's just the type of strain. It's like, no, bro. Like it's all of it. Like at this point, it doesn't matter what strain you do. It's going to have an effect on your mental. So like you really like, for people who don't want that effect, I say go ahead and try the CBD and get a strength that helps you. Because there are, like, you can get a stronger strength of the extract, or you can smoke it, or you can make your own stuff. I make my own stuff. I get the flower from a wonderful farmer in Vermont, who doesn't put any pesticides and grows it outside. And it's just the difference between that and what you get from the dispensary. I've noticed that when I smoke something or ingest something from a dispensary, I have a hard time breathing. I have all these like effects happen to my body. Like I think it's being manipulated for a detriment. I don't think that is good. So I would find something from somebody who is actually practicing good farming habits and cares about the plants, because when you have a lot of love for the plants as you're growing them, that actually is reflected then in the product that they give you. Yeah. It's not just, a plant that you just grow and you act like it's just nothing. It should be treated with respect and love.
And not just for profit.
Yeah. And I think that's why I think sometimes we get punished by the plants for being treated like that, or they end up like a Frankenstein plant with no spirit. It's really, I think it makes all the difference. But yeah, I don't know. I much rather people do CBD and not the shit from the gas station. Like you'll see it everywhere. Like it's like, at least here, they sell it at the gas station. And all that stuff has hexane in it. Like it's got all these horrible things like how they derived that extract. Like you have no idea what they did to get it chemically out of, you know, they put it through solvents. They do all this psycho shit to it. Find somebody who does that, or find someone who you trust that grows it and buy it from them.
Yeah.
I can't
Like
stress that
the
enough.
way that I'm hearing it and the way that I'm understanding is when it comes to, this is what I've been explaining to my kids as well, with food, live food and not live food. So when something like, for example, the e-pens, right, that they put, right, the way that I understand it is when somebody grows a plant, when you yourself grow up this plant, you love it, you nurture it, you take care of it, you think about it, which it feels no matter how far you are, it's getting all of that love. And the closer you are, of course, the better it is to the plant. And then there's plants that are grown in a building that have never seen natural sunlight. It's almost like thinking of these plants as human beings. One is allowed to do anything that they want, and the other one is always locked in his building, cannot leave the room, does not get real fresh air, does not get real light, and then on top of it, afterwards, it goes into a machine, so it might not even have the human contact that this one would, goes into the machine and it is beat up and tortured in there, processed, shoved into a little glass or metal or whatever pipe thing that it comes in. And then you go and you smoke that has absolutely no life, no spirit, no soul. It has nothing in there. And it's like tortured.
Yeah.
Everything
Well,
that's taking out of it.
yeah. Like there's plenty of books on the plant's ability to cognitively understand vibration and what you're saying to it. There's like Thus Spoke the Plant is a very good book to look into. It's actually written by a scientist, and she did all these studies with these plants and proved that they not only can understand situations and what's happening, but they have memory retention.
Yeah.
And they can feel the vibration of someone and what they're projecting. So and also you can do this experiment at home. You can get, like a little bit of rice and put some water on it and then talk to it every day and say nice things to one, and then put rice and water in another one and say horrible things to that one. And they've actually seen that the one that you say negative things to molds and deteriorates faster than the one that you say nice things to. There's also a very small book that is, I think, should be in everybody's library. Everyone should own this book. It's called Hidden Messages in Water, and it talks about he was a Japanese scientist that did studies where he said positive and negative things to water and then froze it and looked at it under a microscope, and the makeup of the structure of the water changes depending on the vibration of what you're saying. So if we are all mostly water, and plants also have lots of water in them, then there is no reason to think that wouldn't have an effect on us with the vibration that is being projected at us. So it's just like when people say, oh, like, you need to think positively or you need to like say positive things, there's a reason it actually does affect you developmentally, your genetic makeup, all of that. So and also if you look into plant spirit, there's a lot of books on plant spirits. They do have, like, every plant has a personality and a spirit, and you can connect with that, and it's very much based in intuition and your ability to discern messages, in which everybody has this ability. You don't have to be like a psychic or anything. Like, I think everybody is a psychic if you hone the resources that we have in our body. But you can speak to plants and ask them what they need, or you can try to discern what they're trying to say to you. And it's about, you know, mastering that. So sitting with, I say like pick a plant in your house, sit with that plant every day, kind of just spend time with it, and like you can ask it questions, and then you can see if you get a response,
It's
which is
interesting you
the
say
first thing
that.
that pops into your head. It
It's
sounds
interesting you
silly,
say
but
that because we have a plant in the kitchen on the table, and my kids thought it was a fake plant. I'm like, no, it's a real plant. And I'm like, I don't like fake plants because they don't talk back.
yeah, exactly. They're just weird. I have them in my bathroom just because I can't have one room without green in it, but because there's no windows or anything in that bathroom, so there's nothing that can survive. But
Yeah.
I have big plants in there just because I can't have just bland white walls everywhere. But yeah, you should totally talk to plants. It sounds ridiculous, but there's a lot of wisdom that they have. You know, like and every single one has a different personality. Every like, and you'd be surprised what you get when you talk. Like, I'm very curious to see if anybody actually does this and sits with the plant and sees what they get from it, because I think everybody should hone this ability, because it would, if you start to grow food and you develop a relationship with the plants that you are getting produce from, the produce that you get from them will be 10 times better for you. And also, you'll be a better gardener because you'll understand what they need. It's funny because when I worked at MIT, they were developing a nanotechnology, not just for plants, but also for people, but that they were injecting into the leaf of plants to tell them what they needed. So it would tell them if they needed water, or if they needed more sun, or if the nutritional makeup, or the mineral makeup of the soil was not up to snuff, all that stuff. But you can do that without the nanotechnology. That just showed like how disconnected they were from the organic world. They thought that they needed something to tell them that when you can look at a plant and be like, that plant needs water. Like, if you learn to garden and connect with your little beings that you're raising, you learn these things automatically. You can tell if you are listening and, you know, looking at them visibly. Like, it's not rocket science. It's just,
Yeah.
I think it's, um you know, if you read the Bible, like it says that we're here to help the planet, to like take care of it, and to, you know, nurture it. And I think that this is supposed to be a relationship that's in every single person's life, is this communication between the organic and us, which we are organic, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's, can't really put into words correctly right now, but it's unspoken. It's like an unspoken thing.
Yeah. And I feel like we moved far, far, far away from that because most people, when you tell them, I talk to plants, they will look at you like you have three eyes,
Yeah.
which is really supposed to be a compliment.
I think it's a compliment. I'm like, okay, cool, dude. Like,
Yeah.
even like, I mean, I think it's so funny that they want us to live in cities, like all packed together with no like plant life around us at all. We won't survive if we live like that forever. We won't have as much of a healthy life as if, like, in comparison to us living in unison with nature. We need that. We need to forest bathe. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Like, we need to have the sun. Like, a forest bathing is basically just like going into the forest and like
Oh, okay.
meditating, like laying down and meditating and just kind of taking it in. It's very
Okay.
rejuvenating. It's something that we all need. We all need time in nature to, and there's a reason why we feel recuperated when we do that. It's because that's where we belong. We belong in the organic world, the
Yeah.
green
And
world.
we'll become very disconnected with
Mhm.
the real world. And now everyone refers to the real world as not the real world that we're talking about. They're referring to the real world as living in your house or in your apartment, in the building, surrounded by people. The only plants you have are in your house. Maybe you have some grass and backyard in your house, but that is the real world. Whereas that is not the real world. That is um, man-made to keep you here where I can see you all the time instead of
Like,
when
do
you're
you
wild
think
and
it's
free.
a coincidence that all those buildings are mostly made of like concrete? It's like a prison cell, like being there. It's not like oh God, don't get me going on this because then I'll.
Oh, I know.
Like it's like they found every single thing that would keep you disconnected from your true nature, and then packaged and presented it as like what you should aspire to live in. Like,
That's a program, right?
yeah,
All of us got a program as growing up, what and how we're supposed to live, which means there's steps that everyone needs to take in order to be successful.
yeah.
And all of that involves having a house, having children. For many people, it's having a pet, and definitely a job that is 9 to 5 or within those hours where you're
Well,
going.
I don't think honestly, I think kids aren't even. So that's another subject that but I think that they're presenting children as like a no-go. Like you shouldn't have children. I think that's actually becoming something that people don't want you to have, that they don't
Yeah,
want
that's
you
a
to
new
have
thing now.
or have babies.
Yeah.
But I think if you have that calling, like I don't think that it should be a requirement to be human to procreate, which it is in some religions, especially in Christianity. It is to procreate and bring your seed to the world and whatever. But um, I think if you have the calling to have children and that's something that you want, by all means, but you shouldn't feel obligated if that's not in what you want to do, or that's not in your idea of what you want your life to look like. It shouldn't be a pressured thing. But this whole idea that we are overpopulated and we need to stop procreating, I think that's a manufactured concern right now. Because if you actually
No.
listen to people like Elon Musk, has been talking about how there's a decrease in the population, and actually we're not going to have enough people on the planet to do all the jobs that we need to do. Um, that we're actually on a decline in population.
Because a lot of people are choosing not to have children because
Yeah,
it should be a choice, and it is a choice, but a lot of people still feel like they're pressured by their society or their family, which is society,
yeah,
right? That to have children, and that if you don't have children, you're weird. If you don't drink, this one I hear all
you're
the
weird.
time.
Yeah,
Like,
love
you're
that.
weird that you don't drink. Because I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking what 3 years ago, and I don't like it. I don't enjoy it because I it affected my spirit, and it felt like there was a tortured spirit in me, and it made me feel uncomfortable, and I could feel like it was hurting my skin, like in the
Well,
way that I would
I
feel
think
like tingling. It's like trying to get out, free me, free me.
yeah, no. So if we're talking about plant spirit,
Yeah.
I think, and I distill plants for essential oils and hydrosols. So the distillation process still keeps the spirit of the plant. So if you think about that in terms of like alcohol, that's the distilled spirit of that plant. But it's been like Frankensteined as well by going through these massive manufacturing processes. So you're taking on, I think that's why it's called spirits too. Have you seen that, how they call like liquor stores spirits? Like
Yeah.
um I think that there's a connection there, that you become a different person. You take on the spirit of the plant into your body and you become like a totally different version of yourself. And it depends on the type of alcohol too that you ingest. Like someone who drinks tequila one day will not be the same version of themselves if they drink vodka or beer the next. Like, it's like, and that's across the board. I haven't seen a single person who didn't have this happen to them, where they were like a different person depending on what they drank. Um, and not like, and that's not even considering all the harm it's doing to your body internally. Like, that's just who you become. Like, and I agree with you that it's really freaky how people are totally like, oh, you don't drink, like you're like, they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to hang out with you. It's kind of like the same shit with not smoking weed. Like, I've also noticed that I've been like shunned for saying that I don't smoke ganj, and that I disagree with the recreational use of it. I've been told I'm a bigot and stuff like that. Like, I just think like, I think we should be using these things more responsibly and mindfully. We shouldn't just be like, consuming. That's like, people want to talk about consumeristic shit. This is another example of that. Like, you're just consuming mindlessly and not really thinking about how that's affecting your body or affecting your ability to handle and deal with situations that may present themselves to you. Like, we are presented with conflicts in our life to grow. You have these hardships happen so that you can develop as a human. If you have nothing happen to you, you are a boring blob. Like, have you ever seen these kids who grew up like massively rich and have had nothing happen, not a single thing? They're the most boring people. They have like not they're genuinely boring. Like, they have no personality. They're just like that. Like, I think that having strife and having shit, awful stuff happen to you makes you interesting. It makes you a very dynamic character. If you read any book, if you read Shakespeare, the most interesting people in those books are the ones that are dynamic characters. Look up the definition of a dynamic character. They are changing depending on what they are confronted with. Like, if you're just constantly numbing yourself, you'll never ascend. You'll never like develop as a human. And I don't think it's any different when you're like trying to block that shit with the token and the fucking drinking and the
No, I agree with you 100% because the numbing part is an addiction as well. That is the addiction itself, whether it's alcohol or cannabis or any other drugs.
pills.
Right? When you're trying to numb yourself, you're addicted to the numbness. So that way you don't have to deal and face the things that you have to. And I know a lot of people will also argue with this point and say their argument would be, I worked really hard all day, and do I not deserve to come home and drink a cold beer or smoke a bowl? I worked really hard, so I deserve to do that. And
Why
they're
can't you
they're
develop
not
skills
wrong.
to relax on your own without it, though? That's the thing. Is like,
Exactly.
why can't you like come home and learn to sit and breathe and maybe work on something that brings you to a grounded place? Why does it have to be that instant
Because the mind keeps going. The mind goes, and the numbing is the only thing that they know that's the easiest, because that's a band-aid as well, right? So it's a band-aid, so you don't have to actually deal with it, and you don't have to sit with it. A
Oh,
lot
I
of
know
people
this.
will do everything to avoid
I'm
that.
saying, but that's the thing, is like, people
Yeah,
want to take the short route instead of
yeah.
the longer longevity route, which is to learn um, tools to calm your mind yourself and have control over your emotions, and how your mind is working. Like, we have control over our minds. We can learn to allow things to flow and not like be in a spiral all the time. And you're not doing that if you're drinking, or like, I hate that excuse. I absolutely hate that. like I'm the worst with that stuff because I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. I know, like, because I've been there. I know exactly what people are using these things for. I get it. I do, but you can't do that forever. It like eventually it's going to kill you. So
Yeah, or create more suffering,
yeah,
right? Because you continue doing it, you're not dealing with what comes up for you,
mhm.
right? And if you don't deal with it, you put it away, it's like thinking of each thing that comes up. It's like a book that you never open, and you end up having such a heavy bookshelf that one day the bookshelf can fall on top of you and you will not be able to climb up from underneath it, or if you do, there could potentially be a lot more damage
Yeah,
from.
to you and the people around you. Like
Yeah,
it affects your relationships with other people if you don't come to terms with things. Like once again, this just goes back to taking responsibility for yourself and the lessons that you need to learn and work on in your life. Like this is everybody's journey. Not a single person is spared from this or shouldn't be, like everybody has this on their plate that they need to figure out what their shadows are and deal with those like shadow work is like I love how people like throw that term around. They're always like shadow work, but it's like, are you actually doing your shadow work? Are you facing those really like icky things about yourself or what you've been through that you need to actually face? Like it sucks, it really does, but it needs to be done. It's like cleaning out an attic that you haven't looked at in a really long time.
yeah.
It's spooky.
And it needs to be cleaned up, because I refer to the mind as the attic, because
Oh,
that's where a lot of things just get put in there, shoved in the attic and forgotten and never dealt with. And then when it comes time to cleaning, nobody wants to do it because, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I am a hoarder. There's so many things in here,
or it's haunted, or it's like
right?
super spooky.
'Cause-
There's
right?
like
And
this
that's actually fun.
revolution.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's funny because like I'm developing a relationship with my father that I did not have as a younger person. Like we didn't talk for forever, and it's actually really nice to have him like call me and ask me for advice on things because he's like because he was doing the same thing. He was shoving things down and blocking it out because he was in the military and you're not allowed to show weakness and you're not allowed to even admit that anything's going on. And now that he's been retired, he's like dealing with all this stuff and he's seeing how doing that affected his personal relationships with his children and his family. So it's really nice to like have my dad like be like, I need your advice on how to deal with this, and it's just like, and I give it to him straight. I don't sugarcoat
I
shit.
like that.
I don't like, I'm very much like upfront with how I feel and what I think is happening. And I think too often we try to sugarcoat stuff for people. And when you do that, it lessens the value of what you're saying. So I think, I don't know, it's cool to see that happen with people,
Yeah.
to see them start doing the work and changing. And it makes me appreciate those people even more. The people who are willing to look at themselves with, take a long, hard look and be like, okay, I really need like
Yeah.
that takes a lot. That's like if someone is willing to do that, I don't care what you've done in your life. I don't care if you've like murdered people or you were like a gangbanger and the deepest of the hood. Like I don't care what you did. If you are actively like, okay, I want to change my life. I need to change myself and I need to like really figure out how to move forward. Like I think you're a freaking king, Like I think you are a miraculous human because
Warrior, because it takes a warrior to face the demons and the gremlins and the shadows that might no longer have faces,
yeah.
but you feel it so heavy. And I also wanna say one thing that came up for me was, I remember growing up, in my 20s, one of the things I heard constantly, also when I was going through school, one of the reasons why I ended up not going forward, but I'm glad I didn't, because there was many other reasons, but one of the reasons was that the almost like any industry that you're in right now, and that if you look young, people don't take you seriously, especially older people, and they don't like to listen to younger people because they don't know what they're talking about. But in this day and age, I have noticed that it's actually reversed, where a lot of the middle ages know a lot more than the older people do, because they've taken the time to question everything, question, because their parents either answered questions or answered some questions. So these kids learned how to ask questions, and then even better, go find the answers on their own and gather this knowledge, gather this information, this data, where now they can help anyone on any age, right? Obviously not everyone, but a lot of people
Yeah.
are able to do that.
I think that has some validity. But I try to avoid blanket statements, because I think that there is something to being an elder. Like, you do have experience and you do see a lot of stuff happen. And I think we've gotten to this point where we don't respect our elders at all, and we need to get
Oh
back.
no, I agree.
But you're right that a lot of times, we need to, like, case by case situation. Maybe the younger person would know more and needs to be taken seriously. I get that shit all the time, where I look young and people are just like, what the fuck do you know? And I'm like, I know a lot. I've been through a lot, just because I don't like talk about it all the time, like, which seems to be the thing. Like, everybody's like, I've been through this and this and this, and it's like, dude, you don't
Badges.
like, yeah, it's like that means that you haven't really done the work with that. You haven't really gotten over it or worked with it or alchemized that pain if you're listing off all of your victimhood immediately when you meet somebody, to like try and say that you are it's almost like, oh well, I've been through all this, so I know what I'm talking about. It's like, it makes me discount that person immediately. I'm like, cool, so you don't get it, so I'm just gonna like not gonna listen to you. But I think, there is a strength to like having gone through a lot of stuff and not having to wear that out on a t-shirt, like, I went through all this and I got the t-shirt, like. And I think that elders, a lot of time, they have already gone through that, and they don't tell you what they've been through, and people don't take them seriously. Like, there's like this whole, like, if you look into like how women, when they get to a certain age, they're not taken seriously, like they become discounted and like removed from society, like that happens. Like, there's a lot of situations where I wouldn't agree with that statement, but I do think that we do need to take into account what younger people are saying.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of stuff that young people are saying right now that they do not understand, and they're just spouting whatever they've been told to parrot. So like, there's a lot of give and take with that.
I know it's like back and forth, but the reason why I said is because that's something that I faced myself over my whole entire, I mean, still to this day, but not as much now, because I just, it doesn't even go that way, right? Because people that, how to put it, it's like, if somebody comes across me and I'm younger, and to find out my age, they're like, oh, I didn't know you were that young.
Yeah.
I thought you were my age, right? Late 40s or 50s. But you look young, and we do get judged by the way that we look. So in my teens and in my 20s, I don't look much older than I did as even my 19-year-old. Look at my wedding pictures. Apparently I look the same, just I was thinner in my wedding pictures. Who wasn't, right?
Yeah.
But it was always like, oh, nobody's going to listen to you because you look young. So you need to find a way to make yourself look older if you want people to take you seriously. So that's where that came from. And also and the reason why that came up, because we were talking about your dad, how he comes and he asks you for help. And whereas a lot of parents, they don't do that. They don't ask their kids for help, even though they can clearly see that they can help them. My parents do, not so much the in-laws, right? But I mean, and when I say my parents, I say my mom, not my dad, because the way that he was raised in Russia was boys don't cry, boys don't do that. It's very like army style, because in grade 10, every boy went into the army. Like that's it. Boys were all gone from grade 10. And again, that's also education that was taken away from them. And they were taught how to be little soldiers, how to be this tough man, to carry everything on your shoulders. And I know my dad is struggling. I know my dad is suffering, but he doesn't talk about it. And I, as a coach, I'm not going to go and probe, and I'm not going to offer my help if it's not asked.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's a hard thing to do when I can see.
Not just be like, here's some unsolicited advice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't do that anymore. And it's really hard sometimes.
If you just want to help people, you're just like, just listen to me. But if they're not ready, they're not ready.
And they're not going to hear it.
Take it in.
Yeah.
I understand the struggle, because it's like, and also people will come to you and they'll say, hey, I need advice, and they just want to vent. And like, I've gotten to the point where I've like, I can't do that anymore. I can't listen to, because essentially it's like, okay, let me dump all of this energy onto you, like this emotional baggage.
Energy vampire.
You're not allowed to say anything back, and you're not allowed to have any release. I'm not about that. I'm like, I can't do that for people.
Like, chronic complainers.
Yes.
Used to be one of my biggest pet peeves. Now I'm like, I get excited when I hear people chronically complain, because I'm like, ooh, you're going to go through some serious shit really soon, because this complaining will get to this tipping point where you'll no longer be able to complain, and you'll start feeling it, and you'll be forced to do the work. So that's why now I get really excited. I'm like, ooh, a potential client.
I used to be that person too. That's the thing, is like, I'm not saying that I can't stand this stuff because I've never been through it. I've been there.
Because you've been through it.
I understand how much it doesn't help you. like how you're just running on a rat wheel, like going nowhere. You know what I mean? So like I with abusive relationships, with all of that, I was the mouse on the wheel, just running and saying the same things, and I would get exhausted with myself. And finally I would get so tired of complaining that I'd be like, you know what have I not done yet? I haven't done anything. I haven't made a single step towards change at all. So what can I do? Get off the wheel. That's the first step. Like, get off the wheel and make one step that's different, like, which is either removing yourself from the situation that's causing you that, or figuring out a way to change it. Like, but I can't. I've been the earpiece for people who have been in abusive relationships, and if you've already been through that, it's very taxing on your soul to listen to someone, because you're forced to then go over your own trauma all over again that you've already healed from. And it's like, I just can't, I get too emotional for them. I get too, I can't stop myself from doing that. And I also can't sit there and listen to it and not be like, dude, you need to just fucking leave. Like, I can't, and I'm not a sugarcoater. So it's like, I'm probably the worst person if you want some la answer that's like, oh, everything's gonna be okay, maybe they'll change, no, that's not me. You're not gonna get it from me. I'm gonna be like, bitch, you need to get the fuck out. Like, you need to get the fuck out, make some changes, like, stop complaining, do something. And same thing with depression. Like, depression is also that rat wheel, and it starts with you making the choice to have a different approach to the situation at hand. And that is another reason why I'm not okay with people who are in these predicaments smoking mad ganja. Like, you're never gonna, like, you're just gonna be complacent. You're just gonna sit there and like eat your munchies and play your video games and like stare at the TV like mindlessly and not take any action.
That's like zombie mode.
Yeah, total zombie mode, which I think is like, maybe that's a reason they legalized it.
Well, yes, if I already thought of that, but yes, they legalized it just before all of this to get people, we'll give you what you want. We will numb you. We will, you'll be happier. We will give you everything you want. And then you'll start taking more and more and more. And then it's like, give a little bit, take more. Give a little bit, take more. Give a little bit, take everything.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what we're
my boyfriend or person, he's like more than a boyfriend, but like he like owns a piercing and tattoo shop, and he says that the kids that come in, they're all like blasted out of their mind on this shit, and they literally just stare at him and drool. Like they're not even there. Like they're literally not even there. And he's like, I don't know if they're putting crack in this shit or something, but like back in my day, you could like roll a huge ass blunt and still feel like totally normal. And this stuff, you like take one hit and you're like blasted off to Mars with Elon Musk. Like you're just like, I don't think this is okay. I think that's like a sign that something's happening. These kids are just like zoned out. They can't even write their own name. Like they literally don't know how to write their own name. They don't even know what a signature is. Like
Yeah. See, that is also an attack on, in a way, it could be called an attack on the younger generation because they don't know. And when it's legal, what kind of an argument are they going to have with parents? Right? It's legal. If it's legal, that means I'm allowed to have it. Same thing with alcohol. Same thing with cigarettes.
Yeah. And how many deaths are there from over drinking? You know what I mean? Like
a lot. From over smoking, I haven't heard any. Like cannabis, I haven't, but drinking, yes. How many fights have taken place at bars when people were stoned? None that I know of. When they're drunk.
That's the thing, is like it's a peaceful, complacent thing. Like alcohol gets you.
You said it takes you out of the body, right?
Yeah, it's a
you leave.
So it doesn't like, so if you've had trauma, it's actually probably worse for you to smoke. Then and I know like a lot of people, like me saying that will get so many people pissed off. They'll be like, oh, I use it for PTSD and I am like I get so many people mad at me for saying any of this, like more so than people that I'm like, hey, you should probably not drink. Like I get more hate for being conservative about like ganja. But and trust me, I was a pothead. I really was, but I did not have as much creativity. I did not have as much will to do things and get stuff done. I was tired. I was very lazy. Like all the stereotypes that they say about ganja users, like they're true. Like I hate to say it. It's like it's like, yeah,
I know.
like yeah, it is. Like I really wasn't motivated, and I think we need to admit some things to ourselves. It's not saying that it's bad that you smoke, but like we have to recognize when an addiction is an addiction, and we're trying to like, just like people who are addicted to traveling. Like, have you met those people that just can't stay in one place? They're constantly moving, constantly going places, and it's like,
they're really
what
fun.
are you running from? What are you running from? Because like
they're searching.
You can't stay in one place. Like
they're always
everybody
searching
has
for something. Yeah.
Like everyone has their thing. It comes in very many different shapes and forms.
You know, some of these people that respond that they're searching, but I also know that they're running, hearing how their family is, and the moment that they're able to go and travel on their own, because I went in search for something. So it is in search of something, but at the same time, it is running away from something that, so you can find something else. Because if you don't have it here, that means you'll go looking out for it, which is which is what we're meant to do as we grow up and leave our parents. We're meant to go searching for other things. And for many, not for many people, but now even less people are able to travel. But there are people that were traveling before nonstop, and they never stayed in one place for more than a few months, because it felt like settling.
Yeah, no, that's a huge part. And also there is a societal like stigma against like being rooted in the same place. So it's like, oh, you're not well traveled, you're not cultured, you're not this because you didn't go around. But I know people who are the most developed, understanding, and wise people who have never left the town that they grew up in. Like, but they understand how the world works. Like, it's really weird. It really depends on the person. Maybe you did need to do all the traveling. I don't think, like, we all do exactly what we're supposed to do in our life, like when we're supposed to do it. So if you went and you were traveling all that time, the end result, which is like for you to realize that you have all the answers and all the things that you need, that wasn't going to come until you did all of that.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but at the end of the day, you have to realize what the lesson is. Like, what is, like, am I running from something? Okay, I need to chill out and get grounded. Like, everybody's lesson comes to them in a different way. Yeah. So, but I'm saying that that is an addiction as well. Just like me having my addiction to pills, having my addiction to ganja, having my addiction to alcohol, having my addiction to denial, like all that stuff.
Yeah, feeling bad as well.
Yeah,
is an addiction.
Yeah, being addicted to a discomfort and suffering. You can be addicted to suffering, like, which I was also addicted to that. Like, all of those things led me to be who I am today, and for me to learn those lessons. Like, no one should feel bad that they're doing these things, but they should be asking themselves why. Like, you should always be like objective about the things that you're doing and asking yourself why.
In a child, we always ask that question.
Yeah, like, be compassionate with yourself, be understanding, but at the end of the day, you have to do that work. You can't just like keep avoiding it, because you're just harming yourself. But everybody figures it out in their own time.
Yeah, when they're meant to, and maybe it might not be in this lifetime, but it'll be in the next one.
Yeah.
Right. We all have our own predetermined paths and journeys that we are already on, and all we can do is just take it one step at a time and learn as we go. Right, Ethan?
Yeah.
That's right. Sentences.
I know.
Okay. I know. Smirking at me. See, I realized after I already put the password, and I'm like, he's supposed to do some sentences so he can practice his handwriting, so he can know how to sign and write his name.
Which is, now it's a last start. Is that not crazy how that's a last start? Did you know, and this is like something that I think I can say without, you getting censored or anything, that in every time that there is mass enslavement, the thing that they make certain is the lack of knowledge and the inability to communicate. So say that technology
does that.
Say that so not being able to read facial expressions would be the inability to communicate. And then also say that they remove technology, that they kill the internet and they kill technology in general, and you are left not being able to write or have the ability to communicate otherwise. Like, there's a reason why, even in America, when we had slaves here, which we were one of the first countries, like, but our country dissolved slavery sooner than any other country in its history, which I think is nuts that they're trying to demonize. Like, that is an achievement that we were like, this is awful.
I didn't know that.
And it's still happening all over the globe. There is like mass enslavement of people. But
is that okay?
The thing that they did to the slaves here is that they would not let them learn how to read or write.
Yeah.
And that is what kept them in their enslavement. They couldn't understand what was happening or how to communicate a resistance. So they were kept in ignorance purposefully.
Yeah.
So if they're not teaching our kids right now to read or write, with like to have the ability, like now they're saying that math isn't needed. Like
It
they're
is.
slowly removing all of the actual things that we need in order to, like, basic math is you need to know that. But
Yeah, so you can understand the matrix.
yes. So you can understand the matrix. But also the ability to handwrite. Like that is such an invaluable tool. And our handwriting is so personal.
Personal.
It
Yeah.
is like your physical handwriting is like nobody else's. That's such a thing that's to you. To have that removed from your ability is pretty crazy. Like
Yeah.
the ability to sign your name. Like the fact that so many kids don't know what a signature is. Like these things are being taken away slowly until the point where we're not going to have any basic knowledge on how, like I've always wondered why it is that they didn't teach you banking skills in school, or why they didn't teach you about your constitutional rights,
Because they don't
or
want you to know that stuff.
no,
That's
because then
that's the
you could
powers.
have more power over your being,
Yeah.
and you would know
And
exactly when your rights were being infringed upon.
yeah.
It's all very methodical.
Yeah.
But like if you want to know why they're doing that, you just have to look in history and you have to see, like, it kills me that, in every single account of slaves, they always talk about how knowledge and education was never allowed, the sharing of knowledge. And that's why when you look in the history, everything was passed down by word of mouth. Like here in the South, lots of herbal remedies were were memorized and then passed down to generation and generation by showing and talking about it or singing about it. There was always like a song that they would create to capture that moment in history so that they actually understood. And it was like a sly way to communicate so that, the slave owners wouldn't catch on. There's other ways that things were done, but it's sad now because, especially for herbalists, because they knew so many herbal remedies and they had so much knowledge about the land, and a lot of it was lost because it was never written down. So a lot of the accounts they're by like settlers and the colonial people and that kind of stuff, because it was never passed down and it got lost in the generations.
I wonder how many more things and how many more truths were lost on purpose or by design or by accident over our, the human history that we will, few are able to get. When you were talking about the shaman, what they do is they travel to get that knowledge, to get it and bring it back, and not all of them make it back.
And we were talking about plant spirit. So, and if you meet, which I don't think a lot of us will ever have the ability to do this, but if you ever meet a true shaman, an actual shaman, not these like people who say that they're shamans, that like they're like, oh, I wear yoga pants, I'm a shaman, like actual, like, I live in the jungle, I live in a hut, I live frugally off of the land shaman. If you walk with them through the woods and the jungle or wherever they are situated, they will tell you that they learned all of these plants and what they do by talking to them. They didn't have someone like follow them around and be like, oh, you do this with this and you do that. They say, no, I listened to the plant and they told me that this is what they do.
They didn't have Google with them in the
have
forest.
Google. Google's useless. Google will tell you that this isn't real in the first place. But it's crazy how I've actually tested this, where I asked the plant what it was, and then I did Google it. I was like, okay, black plant with this color thing, and it came up, and then what my initial impression is mostly right. So that is it communicating with me. I take no credit for that whatsoever. Like, that is that plant telling me what it's for, and me just trying to be reciprocative of, you know the word that I'm trying to say, trying to trying to get that impression as clearly as possible and be like a void to get it, and then try to process what they're trying to tell me. That's it. Like that's like the plant is telling you what it, because all they want to do is help. Like if like the green world wants nothing more than for humans to stop destroying it and to just let them help. Like that's all it wants. Like,
Yeah.
if we could only get it, I swear. It's
Are you on a call?
I am on call, yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm finishing up.
yeah, sorry.
Can I say
We're
hi?
probably way over time.
Oh, just a little,
Can I say
bit, just a couple
hi?
of minutes. Yeah, you can come say hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Tired. In
Aw,
my class, my teacher, me and my teacher were talking a bit overtime because we ended class at 2:57, but me and teacher were to keep talking and talking.
oh, that's nice.
My throat hurts.
Your throat hurts from talking so much?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, it's a struggle. But do you like the teacher?
She's very nice. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And she's young, so she's she's 23.
She's 23 and she's a teacher? So she's just out of college. She's
Yeah.
like, just came out of college. Well, that's cool. It's nice to have young teachers.
She is either 23 or 24. I don't really ask,
Very young.
but I know she's between that. And I love your hair, by the way.
My hair?
Yeah.
Thick,
I like it. I was gonna say the same thing. Like, oh, look at your hair. You did a good job putting it up there.
And
You know,
mom,
messy buns. They're all the rage.
I love messy buns. It's like my style. Like
Yeah. No, I'm in sweatpants and the thing today.
it's comfortable, and I've been sweating all day.
I got yoga pants with pockets.
There you go. Pockets. You have to have pockets.
I know. I need my
I've been
pockets.
sweating all day in this sweater I just bought.
Yeah. No.
Good.
Like if you're gonna be at home, why not be comfortable?
180,000 light years away.
And do you want to work out with me after your call?
I have another call after. Mama is busy. Yeah.
She's mama. She's
Yeah.
busy.
I can take my other green
Can I
phone.
do
over
your
there.
phone after?
Sure. Okay.
Like
go
my
ahead.
eyes are hurting.
Well, since Mila came in and reminded us of what time it was, because Ethan wasn't enough of a reminder with his controller, sneaky little guy, because he knows I'm busy and I might not fully understand, or that he's giving me the control to put the code in, and that it might take me a little bit to catch on that he's supposed to do something, and then the game would be the reward for him. And that's why he ran really quickly with that controller when I gave it to him.
Yeah. No, he's like, I'm gonna just take this and run with it.
Yeah, before she's like, oh, come back. But anyways, I wanted to say thank you for sharing more than just cannabis knowledge. And also thank you for the conversation prior to this call. As always, those are on fire.
I wish we could record them, but
I know, and that would be like in a separate place, or where
we
we
need to find a whole other like venue to post it on that isn't
yeah, it cannot be in any of these platforms that are monitored and then are censored. A lot of people end up in Facebook jails, and everything gets deleted and they lose everything on their social profiles, and that stuff right there is, if that's not scary, and if that doesn't tell people of where we're going, the direction that we're going, then I don't know what else to say. So we'll just leave it there. Plenty of seed of doubt.
If you have no opposite to compare what you're being told to, then you can easily be controlled and manipulated. There is no
Slaves.
active learning. There's no progression. There will only be what the party that wants to control you is projecting, and that's it.
Well, that's what, like, you were talking about the slaves and how their masters didn't want them to know anything and learn anything because there's power in that. And
Yeah,
right now, the society has been dumbed down
yeah,
a lot. Even I come from Russia. When I came here, the school education system here, my parents were like, "This is not school at all." And I was like, "Oh, yes, it is. This is fun. This is easy. This is great." Now as an adult, I'm like, "Fuck."
yeah. I don't know. I didn't pay attention in school either, and
Yeah,
I knew no, I had to be self-taught about a lot of different things, which I actually think is probably better at this point.
it is.
Um,
Yeah, that's why I'm actually considering because Bethany was with us on call. I don't know if she's still here or not, but she homeschools her son.
Good.
And if I remember correctly, he's 4 years old now. And she homeschools him, and she's planning on continuing to homeschool him. And um, I've actually been considering to
Okay, that's
start homeschooling my kids.
Do
Right
it.
now they're online school, but starting with unschooling first and teaching them everything. And it's scary for a lot of parents to consider that this is what they have to do in order for their kids to actually be educated, because school doesn't do enough of education. It has its own agenda. And I, as a coach, know that I, as a coach, cannot have an agenda when I come into a session with my client. So when a school has an agenda for my kids, I don't agree with that, because they're telling them what they should be good at, what they should be doing. Whereas if your kid is an artist, whatever art form, every kid is an artist, period. So it's your job as a parent to identify what that art form is, and
Nurse.
put them in that and do more in that. Yes, nurture that. And because the way that society is, parents don't have the time for that, because I have a job, I have to work, I have to provide for the family. I don't have time for any of this. When I come home, I deserve to have my things that will help me to relax, which they don't. And I understand that. I really, really do understand it, and I empathize with that. But if you want your kids to be better than you, then you have to do better. And it's going to be different for every parent.
I think people are forgetting the number one thing of parenthood, and the unspoken agreement that you have when you have a child, and that is that you should be selfless. Um, like
But
you still
nobody's
take
taught that, actually.
like what?
I don't think that's actually even taught.
No, so that's the thing is like, and I think that's why people end up so messed up is that their parents had them and then still wanted their life to remain the same and for their entire life to still be about them. When you should be putting a fair amount towards your child. You should still take care of yourself and do what you need to keep your health up and all that. But your child should also like their needs and wants and propelling them into being successful in life should be a priority, and it's not. It's like as if the child is just there, and that's
A
what people,
burden. A
yeah,
lot of a lot of parents do kind of unconsciously. It's completely unconscious,
yeah,
that they treat their family, their kids, as a burden. But how can you tell if you do that? Is if you say things that cause and create guilt in a child, makes them feel bad, and blaming and shaming them. Oh, you never do what I tell you to do. Number one. Okay, that right there is. I don't even know the politics enough, but it sounds like a dictatorship in the way where you're dictating what's going to happen, and if it doesn't, then there's a punishment that comes.
yeah.
There's no freedom in there. Um,
There should be freedom, but there should also be structure. You need some structure,
yes,
but
which
that's the thing is finding the balance. Like it seems like it's either one way or another with people, and it should really like there should be a middle ground with everything. I think that's the lesson of universally for everybody is what is the middle ground of life. And everyone should strive for that point in anything. Like, am I being objective? Am I being fair? Am I being, reasonable? Like, it's just like, I don't think enough people, they just want their way or the highway at this point, and it bums me out.
So it comes down to control. We grew up being controlled. Our parents grew up being controlled. Their parents grew up being controlled. And it seems like in some families there is less control, or others there's more, and others there's like no control, and the child just does whatever they want. And also, like you're talking about structure can sometimes be confused with control, but it's all in the way of how you communicate it. And that's why the skill of communication is so valuable, so important for everyone to learn. And it is not always taught in schools either. So that's something that then needs to happen in the house if it's not happening outside of the house. And also, even if it's happening outside of the house, it still needs to happen in the house, because you got to continue to practice that skill, that muscle, and strengthen it so you can become a leader that is able to express themselves. We're all leaders. Every single human being is a leader. Every single human being is a leader, but there are different types of leaders.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Anyways, as I have my child standing over there trying to get my attention, then he's like, "Oh, look at me!"
We'll talk about this some other time. But
yeah, that can be in the next topic.
Yeah, always interesting conversations. I swear, I love this little podcast thing that you do.
Thank you, and I love having you on here. And I know there are people that love having you on here as well. Bethany loves you, so
that's stop.
There you go. And she's still here, still listening. So thank you, Bethany. And thank you for all the comments on there as well. I read through some of them, and some of them were a little bit longer, and I didn't want to have my eyes like looking down and reading the comments. But yeah, so anyways, did you see my puppy?
Yeah,
Well,
I see like people like running back and forth, like all the animals and the kids. And I'm like,
yeah, because I have my dog there, my child here, my cat here.
I have all my dogs too.
Playing. Yeah, see, we're animal whisperers. They like our energy.
Yeah, they know when you're like a good being.
Hold on, no.
So thank you. Before we get into another conversation.
Yeah. Have a great day, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And I'll see you next week on Thursday.
You smell good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yay! You smell good. Okay, that's it. That made my day.
Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, I know you.